going to St. George's was a great decision for me.
I believe that SGU has really helped propel me towards my lifelong dream of becoming a doctor.
I'm very confident that I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have gotten residency at Mayo Clinic if I had gone to any school other than St. George's. SGU was the best investment I've made in my entire life, absolutely.
SGU has graduated now over 18,000 graduates from our School of Medicine. These graduates have
Chanel, you're muted.
Thank you so much. Welcome to tonight's webinar. My name is Chanel Parks. I will be your host for this wonderful event this evening, Women in White Coats. Our host for this evening that will be assisting me is Wendy Mathis. And before we get started with tonight's webinar, I want to give you the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about the chat functions of the information session. So please utilize the chat box while I'm doing introductions to let us know where you're calling in from. I hope you enjoyed that small video that talks a little bit more about SGU while we're getting started with our connecting and our streaming services. Again, use the chat functions to let us know where you are calling in from. And thank you so much for participating. So again, my name is Chanel Parks. I am from South Carolina. I am the Associate Director of Admissions here in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee. And thank you for staying up and chatting with us tonight. We have some doctors that are on from all over the US, really excited about this group. And Wendy is actually calling in from California. So we're excited to have them on. And I see you guys are utilizing the box. Thank you so much. We have callers in from Virginia. You're not too far away from me. Welcome. We have Minnesota. Welcome. Thank you so much for calling in, Abby. I see New Jersey is representing in the house as well. Thank you so much for joining us. We are really excited about tonight's event. Of course, since March 1st started Women's Month. So we are excited to spread some joy to you and really have an opportunity for you to speak to these wonderful doctors. I see some people calling in from Ohio, South Louisiana. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So again, tonight's information session will focus on SGU alumni and part to the women that are practicing in medicine. Without further ado, I want to pass the mic over to my wonderful colleague, Wendy Mathis, who will introduce our panelists for this evening and get started with tonight's presentation. Wendy?
Thank you so much, Chanel, for that wonderful introduction. And hello, everyone joining. I see we have people from all over. I saw some of my people from the Midwest here. I'm originally from Michigan. So hi, I saw someone joining from Ohio. My name is Wendy Mathis. As Chanel mentioned, I'm the Associate Director of Admissions. I'm currently based in Southern California. It's normally sunny here, but today it was rainy, so I was loving it because it reminded me of home. But this evening, we have a fantastic presentation for you. We are going to have you interact with some of our Women in Medicine. So some of our doctors who have graduated, and they're going to share with you their experiences. So a few things that you'll be able to learn is what led our doctors to choose medicine, how the SGU prepared them for their specialty, their day in the life, and even things that you can do to stand out as a physician. So without further ado, I'd like for you to meet these fantastic women joining us this evening. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Gail Antoine, who has newly matched. And I'd like for you to introduce yourself first, then followed by Swathi, and then by Kate.
Hello, hi, I'm Gael. Actually matched in 2019, but I guess that's kind of new. I'm a PGY2, which is second year, but a first year anesthesia resident at Brown University. I'm an SGU grad from 2019, and yeah, I'm looking forward to ending my career and hopefully matching back in fellowship back in New York, where I'm usually from.
Swathi.
Hi, everyone. My name is Swathi Srikumar. I'm actually a graduate from 2017. I completed my internal medicine residency this past year in June, and I'm now working as a hospitalist over at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana. So very happy to meet y'all and very excited to share with you my experience at SGU.
Hi, my name is Kate Sauerwein. I graduated in 2006. Oh, I can't even believe it's been that long. And I did my residency at Georgetown Internal Medicine. And after that, I did allergy immunology at NIH in the NIAID department. And I went into private practice in dermatology, actually, after I completed allergy immunology. So I work in a dermatology clinic a few days a week doing allergic skin diseases. And the other time I do telemedicine. I'm actually the CMO, the Chief Medical Officer of a telemedicine company out of Texas. So I have my hands in a few different things. I like to stay diversified. And I met my husband in St. George's. We did residency together, and then he did ICU. And he's the Chief Medical Officer of a tele-ICU company. So I have a lot of different experiences between the two of us. So thanks for joining us.
Wow, thank you so much for your introductions, everyone. Also, everyone joining, as Chanel mentioned, you will be able to utilize the Q&A box and get questions answered by our team. So we have Nicole from admissions on standby. Chanel will also be answering questions. And for anyone who is interested in international admissions and you have questions about being an international student, meaning you're not a US resident and you're looking to find out how you can attend St. George's, we have John, who is online, and he'll be able to answer those questions for you. So please feel free to flood our Q&A box, keep those questions coming because the team is ready to assist you. Now, I would like to jump right into this. And my first question of the evening is for my doctors, what led you towards medicine and a specialty of your choice? And Katie, since you just finished talking about everything that you've been doing, I'd like for you to go ahead and answer first.
So ever since I was young, I always wanted to be a doctor. Did well in undergrad, but didn't do so well on my Mcat. So I looked at different alternatives to still become a doctor. And I started a January semester at St. George's after I didn't get in. I only tried once. And then I went to St. George's because I knew that's all I wanted to do. And then at St. George's, I always liked the more cerebral stuff, not so much the surgical things. So I went into internal medicine. And then picking my specialty was more of I was married, we're gonna have children. It was a lifestyle choice, I think, for allergy immunology. And I've used that to just decide what part of allergy, what part of medicine that I like the best. And I went into private practice with a lot of flexibility. So I think that's how I got into medicine. And how I jumped from St. George's to Georgetown University was just studying hard, doing well. I don't know if the USMLEs are still going to be used by the time these students go through, but doing well in the USMLEs certainly did help me to get me into a university program like Georgetown.
Thank you. Swathi, can you tell us what led you towards medicine and the specialty of your choice?
Absolutely. And kind of similar thing to Kate too. Medicine's always kind of been a passion of mine. Going through undergrad, I was a cell and molecular biology major with the hopes of like going into pre-med and everything. Similarly as well, I applied just one cycle. I was actually waitlisted, but same thing. I was too excited to kickstart my career, and I found that SGU provided exactly what I wanted for, pursuing my dreams, which is to become a doctor. So I applied right away, I think around April of my last year of undergrad, and I was accepted. And I started actually the August of 2000. I don't even remember now. It's so long ago. but yeah, so I started right away the August term after I graduated from undergrad. And then once, going through all of, going through our medical school, I also did my third and fourth year rotations in Jersey, part of the Rutgers system. And that's where I ended up matching and doing my residency for internal medicine. And then once I was done with that, for me, choosing to, after my internal medicine, I always knew I wanted something that's a little bit more acute, but also I love the lifestyle of being a hospitalist, which is managing patients while they're inside the hospital. So it's a 7 on, 7 off type of lifestyle, which is great. And it also is pretty nice and acute. And I think it's nice eventually that I got through all of my training, luckily with the help of SGU, and now I'm doing really pretty happy with my job here in Indiana.
Awesome. You sound happy about it. So everything worked out for you, which is what we love to hear. Gael, please tell us what led you towards medicine and the specialty of your choice.
So like both Kay and Swathi mentioned, I always wanted medicine. Actually come from a family of medicine, doctors, nurses, strong medical background. So it was no surprise when I told them that I was gonna go into medicine myself. And undergrad, I also, like Kay, did really well, but the Mcat just never made sense to me. So when it was time for me to apply for medical school, my brother was actually already, I think he was graduating from SGU at that time, and he had already matched, and I saw his experience. So for me, SGU was on the same playing field with my applications for medical school in the US. So I think I got waitlisted to a couple of schools in the US, and I got accepted at SGU. So I was like, well, I'm not gonna wait. So I just went straight into SGU in my January 2015, and it's been a great experience ever since. And the learning was so strong that I was able to get my specialty of choice, which was anesthesia, and I was able to match an Ivy League program, which was also my #1 choice. So obviously, I think SGU did a great job at preparing me and getting me where I wanted to be exactly when I wanted to be there. So.
Thank you. And I love that you mentioned about residency and matching, because that takes us right into our next question. So Gael, I'm going to stay with you, and I want to ask you about SGU's curriculum and how it helped to prepare you for your residency. And also, how did the clinical network and office of career guidance help you to obtain the residency of your choice? So can you talk a little bit about that, the curriculum and the support?
So the curriculum at SGU is pretty, it's very detailed. It tells you exactly what you need to do. So if you do follow it down to the T, you will get where you need to get. I never used much resources when I was studying for either steps 1 or 2. I always deferred to my own notes from SGU to prepare, and I was able to score very well on both exams. I think the only other resource I used was Doctors in Training, DIT, that everyone recommended, but it did not add much to my studying than my notes from SGU's curriculum. And in terms of the support, SGU has a very strong support system, especially when you get close to your clinical years, which is your 3rd and 4th year. And they give you a lot of assistance in terms of, okay, what are your career choices? What specialty are you looking into? What are your scores? How can we help you get there? And that's where the Office of Graduates comes in and really help you figure that out. And I think right before we entered the match, they kind of like 2-3 months before, they send you like this list you fill out, and they send you like 50 programs that you potentially will be a great candidate for. And although, you know, Brown wasn't on it, but a lot of the programs that I eventually interviewed at after Brown were basically there. So they really do a thorough job at making sure that, you know, they give you realistic goals based on your actual like profile. So I would say like they're very supportive in getting me where I wanted to get and getting me all the rotations I needed, because anesthesia is a subspecialty, it is competitive. So you're not always going to find rotations readily available, but they were really, you know, available and hands-on getting me those out of network rotations that I needed.
So they were able to help you getting those rotations, so you didn't have to go searching and spending a lot of time trying to find them.
Right, because that's something that's I know a lot of people take that for granted, because I have friends who go to other Caribbean schools, I think Ross or any of these other smaller ones, and they have to figure out their own rotations. And I think that's very like burdensome when you're trying to study for your steps, you're trying to make it through your clinicals, and God forbid if you have a family, it's just a lot. So if you can have a support system that can take away a lot of those minor but important things off of your hands, I think it's just great. So I really feel like they did a really good job at supporting us in that aspect and making sure we stayed on top of our rank list, making sure we get all of our letters on time, all of our documents for MASH and ERAS were like readily available and on point at a timely fashion for us to successfully and maximize our options of matching to whatever program that we're really interested in.
Nice. Thank you so much for sharing that and going into a deeper detail for us. Swathi, can you tell us how did SGU's curriculum help you in regards to obtaining your residency and preparing for it? And also talk about the assistance you received and your experience in working with the Office of Career Guidance.
Absolutely, Wendy. So like Gael said, essentially our guidance, like the Career Guidance Office, is very much involved in our pathway from very early on. I remember they came down to the island our first, second year, a lot more in second year, to kind of start talking to us about, going into clinicals, what we should be doing while we're in clinicals, how to really like shine while we're in clinicals. So I think we definitely, I definitely took a lot of help from that. And then once, you're in clinicals, you're assigned a clinical guidance counselor whenever you're going through it. And they actually helped kind of coordinate all of the rotations and things like that for me. I told them these are the things that I wanted, and they were very good at keeping it in the same locations that I wanted. So I did all of my rotations out on the East Coast, primarily between Jersey and New York. And by that, I mean, like I traveled across the water to New York City or Brooklyn, and that was pretty much it from Jersey City. So it wasn't too far away from me for the rotation. So that was never an issue. And then once you're, like closer to your exams, things like that, they're constantly checking up on you to make sure you're on the right path. And they really are very realistic, and they keep us, kind of on track with things, and they tell us what our expectations are going to be. And they do have a compilation of lists of all the places that SGU students have matched into, and also places that, we have recent grads to. So this is all great that we're having these awesome new places that we're matching into to start our, name out there. But and once you kind of find that list, I matched into those areas, and I was actually pretty fortunate. I pre-matched into the medicine program that I was doing my third year rotations in. It was nice because they really liked how I was at the hospital. I got to know the staff really well, the other attendings there, the residents there, and they all had, they were very happy to want me be part of that program. And I wouldn't have had that experience if I hadn't done rotations there. So that was pretty nice to have that opportunity. And so yeah, I would say this is kind of how they helped me get my residency and really guide me through especially the last 2 years of SGU.
Thank you so much, Swathi. Kate, can you share your experience on the curriculum and how it helped to prepare you for residency, and then also your experience in working with the Office of Career Guidance?
Oh my, that was about 15, 16 years ago.
I know, whatever you can remember. Hey, it's whatever you can remember.
Not too much. So I did my core clinicals in Jamaica Hospital, Queens. It was a fantastic experience. Trauma was by far the most interesting thing I did at all times at SGU. We had, I think, a Cornell surgeon that taught us. It was amazing. And then I went to Connecticut and did rotations there. And St. George's actually matched my fiance and I at that time. We got married 4th year of medical school. So that was really helpful. So we were at the rotations all at the same time. And we went to Connecticut for a lot of our electives. And then we wanted to go to Miami Children's. So that was coordinated. So we did that. And then we got offered a pre-match at University of Connecticut as well as Cleveland Clinic. But we had our hearts set at Georgetown. And we knew that they don't do pre-matches there. And we knew that St. George's had gone there. They take about 1, maybe 2 every year. And so we put everything on one basket, and we pre-matched our number one choice, or did not pre-match, we matched our number one choice in the actual match. So we waited. And we had guidance throughout all that. So it was a great experience. I don't remember the details of it. But I know once we matched, it was pretty much St. George's gave us what we needed, and from there on, it just took us. There is no looking back. There is no, well, you can't get the fellowship because you went to St. George's or this or that. It was none of that took place. My husband went to ICU at George Washington, and then I went to NIH allergy immunology, and no one. Everyone was very happy with our baseline education from St. George's and our residency at where we went. We were very well educated from both of those, so there was no issues whatsoever. We were walked right into first year internship, and you couldn't tell with the 15, 20 interns who went where. We were just up to par. So it wasn't a big deal whatsoever where you came from. Once you got your spot, they picked you for a reason. We were prepared. And I remember that, not being nervous or, anxious, being the foreign medical grads and like whatever program you go to. I felt just as prepared. And from then on, we just have taken our careers in all different directions. And someone said on the video, the intro video, it's the best investment that I've ever made in myself. And I think that is so key because it is an investment. It's a lot of money to go to med school, especially private med schools, but it is an investment. And I figured out ways to pay that back. And I'm so thankful that I decided to go to St. George's when the other doors shut, because I have invested in myself. And I'm very, very thankful that I did it back immediately after going to undergrad and not waiting on a second career that I would have been unhappy or unfulfilled with.
Thank you so much for sharing that. See, you remembered a lot about your experience. Now, one of the things that really stuck out from all of our doctors is how easy the process was in regards to working with the Office of Career Guidance and getting the support that they needed to obtain their residencies. So that's something that St. George's is big on, is providing our students with lots of support. Whether you're coming in, working with the Office of Career Guidance, and they're putting together your residency strategy, or you're working with Department of Educational Services for assistance while you are going through your classes. Whatever, from residency to curriculum, we have you covered in regards to support. We're big on help. So talking more about obtaining residencies, Gael, can you talk about the current match process so people can get a better understanding of how that works?
So for me, because with COVID, a lot has changed. Okay, so for me, the match process was probably similar to Kate and to Swathi in that, so basically, it's a lengthy process. It starts really from day one, but it's pretty it climaxes really fast towards the 4th year or 3rd and 4th year. So basically, you, based on your specialty, you have to start looking at certain rotations that are key for you to kind of not only show yourself, but also get exposure to the specialty that you're looking into. Because, the last thing you want is to enter into residency and realize oh my God, I hate this. This is not what I thought this would be. For example, initially, I thought I wanted OB-GYN before I got into medical school. Then I got into medical school, did my rotation, hated it. And I realized I would never in a million years become an OB/GYN doctor. So that's something that it's important to get those key rotations in early so you can know exactly, okay, is this specialty for me? Is a lifestyle what I'm looking for? So that's one of the biggest part of going through the residency process. Then you have something called like your medical file through the school where they look at your rank and in comparison to your classmates. They look at your grades, they look at your step scores, how many times you took them, did you pass, and how did you pass? Because, it does matter in a way where you're gonna apply and where you're gonna get an interview and where you're potentially going to match. Although now, as of 2020, I think things change a little. Step 1 is becoming pass or fail. Interviews has been practically been Zoomed. So the parameters, I think, have changed a little into what programs are looking for in candidates. So, but prior to that, in my experience, and I'm sure it was Kate and Swathi's as well, was basically what your profile said from the school. So basically from SGU, what your scores were for your step 1, step 2, step 2 CS, which is obsolete now. There's no step 2 CS any longer. So you guys are lucky. You're gonna save about $1,000 and a trip to a different state. And once all that is compiled, then eventually you go through something called interview season. And interview season, this is where you're interviewing with the programs that you're interested in, and eventually it's kind of like an exchange because you're also interviewing them because you are going to be working in that place for about 4 years or 3 years or whatever length of time that is. So it's really is, I call it an exchange versus an interview. And once that's done, towards February, you rank all the programs that you've chosen, and eventually by March you will eventually find out, did you match or did you not match? And end of the story, really. But SGU is really active throughout this entire process. So like I mentioned earlier, what they do is right towards 3rd year, beginning of 4th year, they start sending you reminders. You need to get those documents submitted for your profile. And have you taken step 1? Have you taken step 2? Did you pass? What did you need to do? What do you need to do to increase your chances of matching? And they also ask you about your personal statement, which I know college follows you into medical school and into residency. It never stops the personal statements. But the good thing is, as you do have people available to help you with your personal statements and review them, make corrections, and really assist in giving you the best of chances of matching. And they also help you with getting the rotations that you need to really shine when you go on your interviews. And that's really like what I would say is the key steps of getting a residency. You take your step 1, take your step 2. Obviously, you pass your classes in medical school. Step 1, step 2, do your core rotations, do elective rotation, do subspecialties in exactly what you're interested into. And then you write your personal statement, why you want to do the specialty, why you went into medicine. And then you basically rank all the programs you eventually get an interview into. And then come March, you'll find out exactly where you're going to match.
And then is it still the process where they find out on a Monday that they matched and they have to?
Right. So on a Monday, I think it's always the 2nd week of March, you find out if you match, yes or no. Then you have a long wait, so let me go back. So initially you're like, oh my God, I just want to match. I don't care. I just want to match. But you really do care, because now that you found out you match, you're like, oh, did I get my number 1 choice? Then I get my 2nd, my 3rd. Oh, if I get my last one, I'm going to be so upset. So come Friday, then you find out exactly where you match. Unfortunately, there are some people that don't match coming Monday. So those 4 days are really to give these people a chance to kind of scramble, where they get opportunities to interview at programs that have vacancies and optimize their chances and of getting a spot by Friday. So that's really why they have this lag between Monday and Friday, is really to give all those unmatched people and the programs with unmatched spots opportunity to link and interview and basically give those candidates a final chance. And then Friday, everyone's happy, get their spots. And if you don't, honestly, that's also okay, because there are also steps that can be done. And especially SU is really, really, really great at helping people who don't match the first time around. You can do like an MPH program for 1 year, and they can help you. That actually almost increases your chances of like up to 100% of matching your second time around. I've known a few people personally who've done it, and they've gotten their specialty of choice, and they've gotten their position the following year. So you don't have to. I mean, obviously it's optimal to get it once because it's a very stressful process. But if you have to do it again, like SU does not drop you. Well, you didn't match, you're no longer my problem. They really like, okay, let me help you because you've made it this far. You're capable. Let's see how can we help you get where you need to get.
Thank you. Very important to keep in mind the support, because I've gotten that question a lot from people like, what if I don't match? What happens? Do they just cast me aside and say, oh, okay, you're damaged goods, get away? Like, that doesn't happen. They still work with you to help you get that residency that you want to get into. So thanks for bringing that up. Now, I'd like to shift gears a little bit. And Kate, I want to talk with you about how can people stand out as a physician? So whether it's with the exam scores, and I know step 1 is changing to pass fail, and with step 2 changes, what do you think our future doctors can do so that they can stand out and not only excel on these exams, but also just stand out overall as a physician?
So I think it's really important to be very well prepared for your rotations. I remember turning heads of the Cornell professors when I could quickly answer questions and just being prepared, because it's a lot of work in the rotations and reading ahead and just making sure that you understand the patients and the different concepts. That it surprises them when you're very well prepared, and they'll write you better letters. So it's just, you have to, just because it's, you don't get as many grades, it's not as many exams and rotations, it doesn't mean they're not paying attention to everything you do, your interaction with patients, your ability to cooperate with your team. And I think that I had really strong letters of recommendations from people that saw potential. And when I had a chance to do my rotation at NIH, where I wanted to go for allergy immunology, I made sure every morning I got there early, did everything I needed to do, prepared on all these weird diseases. And I did. I made an impact on where I wanted to go. And those letters of recommendations and those personal relationships that I made, whether it was med student to, when I was doing my rotations, or resident when I wanted to go to fellowship, just always being the best you, it makes a difference. And I think that's how I stood out. Obviously, my USMLE scores were very high. That's not going to stand out anymore once they go to pass or fail. So you're going to have to rely more on your own personal relationships that you have forged. And the external rotations may be more important, but unfortunately, a lot of the places that you might want to go don't offer them. So you're going to have to get those strong letters of recommendation if you want to go to a place that doesn't offer that external rotation. If it does offer, by all means, make sure you make all arrangements to have that, because that's going to be very important. But for the ones that you can't rotate at, if you rotate with someone that may know someone there, these personal forged relationships, these personal letters of recommendation, they mean a lot, because you can tell when it's just, did what was supposed to, or if they put personal touches, then they'll make you shine. Research is also helpful depending on where you want to go. We didn't talk about that too much so far, but there is opportunities. And when you get into clinical rotations, you can make relationships with the hospital you're at to do research, whether clinical research or bench research. And your field depends on how much of that you need. And if you're going into a highly competitive field, research is going to be more important. For internal medicine, for me, I didn't need that bench research or that type of research, but from going from Georgetown to NIH, I did. And so I did have to do research in order to get into my fellowship.
Thank you for bringing up that about research. Now, Swathi, are students able to take advantage of getting some research under their belt while they are on the campus during like their first 2 years of basic sciences?
Absolutely. And they actually have a variety of research opportunities. All of our professors there are involved in some sort of research program and things like that too. So it's definitely, if that's something that you're interested in, you can start that in your basic sciences year. For me, I did not actually do any research while I was on the island. However, when I started my third and fourth year clinical rotations, I actually did a lot more research projects there, a lot of prospective studies, a lot of case reports. I presented at our national conferences for both internal medicine, and at one point I was considering PM&R too. So I did physical medicine and rehab. I presented posters at their national conference as well. So you have a lot of opportunities. And again, and Kate put it pretty beautifully, like if you have the intention and if you have the willpower to actually make it happen, you can stand out in all of your rotations with just these simple things like being prepared for rounds, showing interest in research, and all those things. And that's really how you kind of can kickstart your career with things.
And Swathi, I'd like to ask you your opinion, your professional opinion, because I know none of us know about the step changing and the pass fail. And do you think there'll be more emphasis on step 2? What do you think is going to happen now with students?
So actually a great question. And interestingly, I was a chief resident my last year of residency in Jersey. And one of the things that we were discussing is how this was going to impact our future applicants. But if anything, I think the conversation that we had there was that I think now it has a lot more weight on the individual's overall application. I know that one of the ways that, programs get thousands of applications, right? And so it's to understand, and every candidate has their own special whatever, but one of the ways that they used to screen candidates was through pass or, a certain score mark for both your step 1 and step 2. So really the program director, or even the program coordinator even won't even see some of the applications that they get just because they're filtered out right away because they didn't meet the step limit. So I think now that it's being pass fail, I think it actually puts a lot more emphasis on the candidate's overall profile. That includes their letters of recommendations, that includes their, what are their activities and things like that they actually did, both in their basic sciences as well as their clinical years. That's like, for example, research, presentations, whatever. So I think that, and your personal statement, I think those are now going to weigh a lot more and have a lot more emphasis in picking a candidate for an interview than it did in the past.
Thank you so much for that insight. It's so interesting to see what's going to happen. So we're all just kind of waiting like, okay, what's exactly going to happen with everyone? So I can't wait to see. So now, just to let everyone know who's joining us, in 2020, we actually had over 1,100 residencies that were obtained by our graduates. So we're very pleased in the way that our students were able to come in. They had a goal of being a physician. They stuck with it, even though it may have been challenging at times, and over 1,100 residencies were obtained in 2020. So with that being said, it's very important for anyone looking to join our school or any international school, I would say, always look at the type of support that you will receive and your ability to obtain a residency in the United States, if that is what your goal is. So always keep that in mind. I know we have a lot of people joining us this evening also in the Facebook world. So hi, my Facebook people. Please submit your questions through the chat on Facebook. I have Samantha, who is online available to help, and she's also sending questions over to me that you may have. So I'll be sure to get those answered live for you. And additionally, everyone else that's joining, that Q&A box is still open for you to submit your questions. Now, being females in the medical profession, I want to talk about the challenges that you may have run into, and also any stereotypes in the medical field that you have had to dispel. Gael, can you speak to some of that for us?
Sure. So, I'm an anesthesia resident, okay? Anesthesia is like male dominant specialty. and it's definitely white male dominant specialty. So I'm like double, how would I say that? Minority in anesthesia. So obviously it presents challenges, but a lot of time people undermine you. Oh, are you the nurse? No, I'm not, but how can I help you? You get through these little things. Sometimes they get to you, but you really have to start like, whatever. You know your titles, you know what your abilities are. You get through it. And sometimes people will challenge you, your colleagues, surgeons will undermine your abilities because you're not a male standing behind the drape and assisting them in their patient care. And some of the things that I do is usually, like I said, I don't get offended. I either reiterate my title or I just say, how can I help you? And another thing is, you just want to stay on top of it. You want to make sure like you're knowledgeable, you take care of your patients appropriately. You want to basically keep that stature where people will respect you as an individual, and especially if people tend to undermine your abilities as a female physician. So these are the ways I get through it day by day. I would say medicine is definitely evolving. There's a lot more women in medicine now, and they're seeing our abilities. A lot of times also during my interview trail, I've had interviewers ask me like, well, as a mother, like, how are you going to be able to do your job? That's not something that they're supposed to be asking, but it gets asked many times. And even when you're in residency or even in practice, people question, how are you doing it? Well, how are you doing it? If you can do it, I can do it as well. So again, you'll encounter these things many, many times through different phases of your training. And the only way to really mitigate those things is to really stay true to yourself. Don't get offended, and show your capacities through your work and performance and your ethics, professionalism on a day-to-day basis. So this is how I tackle all those issues.
Yes, very important. And like you said, you're getting it double.
Many times, it's daily. It's a daily struggle, but you get through it. And it's good to have a support system as well. As a woman in medicine, like, you want to have avenues or people you can talk to when you face these challenges, because there are going to be days where it's just a lot to take in. You just might be having a bad day, or things eventually get to you at some point. So it's always good to have people to talk to. Like, I go to my husband when these things happen, or I just remind myself of my abilities and just push right through it.
Thank you for sharing that experience with us. And I just want to let you know, if I ever had to go under in surgery, I want you to be my anesthesiologist.
Oh.
I won't question you. Well, I'll probably be asleep, so of course I wouldn't question you. Swathi, can you tell us about your experiences, challenges that you've had as a female in the profession, and any stereotypes that you may have come across and that you had to dispel?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. I mean, I think nobody actually believes, even now as an attending, nobody really believes that I'm a doctor. I get nurse all the time. I get tech. I get student. And I've gotten them like, oh, you're too pretty to be a doctor. And first of all, I'm like, well, thank you for saying that. But this is the Midwest, so everybody's pretty in everyone's eyes. You know this, Wendy. But I'm like, thank you for saying that, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything about my personality or my professional ability. And really, it's just like Gael said, you just have to be confident in your medical abilities. You know that you've gone through this training, you know your stuff to get to where you are right now. So stay strong with that. And that's essentially it. And same thing, even with like the male physicians, there's been times where, like they see like a little bubbly girl walking around. They think that it's just I don't really pay attention to what you're trying to say. Or if I walk in with like a male student, I've had that where patients look over to the male student and is like, hello, doctor. I'm like, no, actually, that's me. Hi, nice to meet you. But like a lot of times they would kind of dismiss my in opinions and things like that because I'm a female. But at the end of the day, you just have to assert that, by the way, I am the primary physician for this patient. This is what I think needs to be done. And there's been many times where I've stood my ground and things got done because of what I wanted done. So I think it's just being confident and actually embrace your femininity, man. Like, I think being a woman in medicine is fantastic. I think patients definitely respond. I feel a lot more because I'm a female, especially, and that's all age groups. I think they find us to be a lot more caring. We listen a lot more. I have such a hard time leaving patients' rooms because they just want to tell me their whole life story. And I know for a fact that I speak to my male counterpart, my colleagues, and they're like, no, I'm like in and out and that's it. But I think that actually, I take that as a compliment because to me, that shows that my patients really trust me and feel very comfortable with me comfortable with me to share their life stories and things. And so I take that as a compliment, so embrace it and stay confident. You made it this far, you're totally worth it. So yeah.
Yeah, it's always interesting when people just prejudge you based on how you look, as if, oh, well, you can't be pretty and smart. It just doesn't happen, right? No, you can't do it, not at all. Kate, can you share your experiences, any challenges that you've run into as a female in the medical profession and stereotypes that you have had to dispel? You've been out there for a while, so I know you got some stories for us.
Oh, I do. So, women multitask. Did you know right now I'm answering Post-it notes underneath the desk? I have these children that keep running in and out. You haven't seen them, hopefully. So we multitask at every level. I have two children, a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old, one special needs son who's 10. And we multitask. Women, we're strong. We learn from, like, whenever something does hurt us, say someone calls me a nurse and, over and over, it happens, a zillion times. Now they don't care. I smile. I say, oh, I can help you. Just like Gail, I think I said your name correctly, Gael. Just like you said, don't take it as an insult. Just say, how can I help you? Because regardless if I'm the nurse or the doctor, if they're asking for something, maybe I can hand them the water. It's not a big deal. The idea is that they feel that I listened and I cared for them, and then they'll trust me. So I think as a female doctor, and I have lots of stories because my husband and I went to the same residency as a married couple, and different rotations and just different experiences. And I can tell you that I listen to my patients. As a female, I think we all listen a little differently than males. And I listen to them, and a lot of times I can figure out, where they got their rash from, or where what I need to do next, based on just listening to them tell me their story and not just jumping to conclusions. And I think as a female and a mother and all these other things I do, I think multitasking is something that comes extremely natural to me, not so much to maybe some male colleagues. And so when they ask, well, how can you do it all? I don't even know I'm doing it. I do something over here, and I take care of my patients, and I'm sending prescriptions. Like I did a hospitalist for a year, like Swathi. And as a hospitalist, you're kind of all over the place and doing things. I was a nocturnist, actually. So I only worked nights for a whole year. And so I think all these different experiences I had that led me to the current position, as I gained information, I gained what I liked, what I didn't like. And I just had used all these experiences to find the exact niche that makes me extremely happy. And so right now I'm in private practice at a clinic. I don't do consults in the hospital anymore. I mixed it up with telemedicine way before COVID happened. I was doing telemedicine about half and half. And I think that if you let it bother you that they think differently because, oh, you can't be pretty in a doctor, you can't be a blonde in a doctor, you can't be this and that, you can't be a special needs mom and have a career, you prove them wrong. And I think on a daily basis, I prove them wrong. And then they find out X, Y, and Z is happening in my personal life. And they're like, wow, but it doesn't matter because wherever I am at that moment has my full attention. And I think that I'm thankful that I'm a physician in my professional life, but also what I take back and the knowledge that I can use personally as a mom.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience. And I mean, this is for everyone joining us, you should just really feel empowered by all of this girl power, woman power, I should say, that is just emanating through the screen to everyone, this energy. I love the fact that you understand and you see, yes, I get challenges. Yes, people assume I'm the nurse. Yes, they undermine me. However, you all remain steady and firm in who you are, what you are. You know that you paid the dues to be there, and that's why you are who you are, and you are the doctors. And I just hope that everyone joining can take away that piece. You got to have that. You have to walk in that confidence and knowing who you are. And once you are secure and comfortable in who you are and your skills, everyone else will just fall in line, or guess what? They'll get out of the way. So
one thing I want to add, Wendy, is that on a different note too, or on a positive note too, a lot of patient appreciate too. I know so many times I'll walk into the pre-op area and my patient realize I'm a woman and I'm their doctor. Like, what? Are you kidding? I'm so excited. Like sometimes it's positive as well. So don't let those negative aspects really discourage you to become a doctor, because there are people who really do appreciate seeing a woman, especially a woman that looks like them, taking care of them. It makes a world of a difference. Sometimes it takes down their anxiety. And like Kate mentioned, like chatting up, I have patients come in like terrified, like, oh, I think I want to cancel, I'm not ready. And just like chatting, just taking the time to like sit down and chat, sometimes a lot of times my male counterparts don't do. Not all of them, some of them. And I think this is a special skill that us women, we have, like we're more attentive, we listen, and we're willing to really like be that mothering figure for our patients. And it does make a difference, and patients do appreciate that.
Absolutely, they do. And for everyone joining, if that's not something that you just have innately, where you are just a nurturing person or someone who just listens more, guess what? When you are going through your basic sciences years, you have the opportunity to get hands-on experience where you can actually work on those skills and develop them further. You will have scenarios where you'll practice your bedside manner so that you will be able to be more engaging and more empathetic with the patients that you'll be working with once you actually get out into the hospital. So if you don't have it right now, we can help you develop it. To a degree, but you have to want it also. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about mentors. As you were going through school, or how you feel now, do you think that it's important, if a woman is looking to move into medicine, that she should have female mentors, or should she look for a male mentor? Does it matter? What are your thoughts on that? Swathi.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm really glad you brought this up. And I think, so in my family, I'm actually the first one to pursue medicine. So I didn't really have a lot of family members that were my mentors professionally. Obviously, I think, my mother is definitely one of my biggest mentors and my role model. But when I actually went through my clinical years, and I think at Jersey, I had actually two female physicians that I really connected with. And one was the chief of cardiology, and the other one was the chief of pulmonary medicine. So for me, and critical care. So I just see these two women, and they just had the perfect combination that I wanted to be. I had the pulm crit doctor who's very she knew what she wanted to do. She was very confident in her medical knowledge and her doctoring skills and everything. And then I had that chief of cardiology attending who, was very motherly and nurturing, but also so smart. And so when I looked at it, I'm like, you know what? I want to be you guys. Like, I want to look just like you. I want to walk into that patient's room and they see this female attending, and they feel that confidence in my knowledge, and in my care for them. So I think that definitely helped me, kind of model your doctoring skills after your mentors for sure. And like I said, those are two attendings I still keep in touch with. I told them, in fact, the other day, I was just updating them about what's going on in Indiana. So I think that definitely helped me kind of become who I am today.
Thank you so much. for sharing that. Kate, what are your thoughts on having mentors? Should a female go with another female, a male? Does it matter? How do you feel about that?
I don't think it matters, and I don't think a mentor is necessarily something you have to have. I know when I did my rotations in Queens and then Connecticut and then Miami, we bounced around a lot, and we wanted to. It was something that we enjoyed because we weren't settled, and we did it together. So I don't really think I had a mentor while I was going through clinical rotations. I mean, I had a great relationship with them while I was there, and I got nice letters of recs from the ones that I thought I impressed. But I don't think I ever looked at one person to look up to keep in touch with type of thing. Like I think Swathi had that experience. And then when I went to residency, I had a few, I guess, mentors to get to fellowship, like my research mentors. But I don't think it's necessary. If you do connect at that level, then great, if you're able to stay in touch. But if you don't, or you're moving around, or it's just you haven't met that mentor that you want to keep in touch with, I don't think it's necessary. And I definitely think it can be male or female, because the mentor I had at Georgetown was a male mentor that I did research with in allergy immunology, and he was great. So I don't think sex matters. I think it's more the interest that matters, for me at least.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Everyone who is still with us, I hope you're taking copious notes, because you're getting some gems here this evening. So now I'd like to talk about a day in the life. And Kate, since we just finished with you, I want you to just run us through your day in the life. What's it like to be Kate?
Oh, depends what day of the week it is. To get those kids off to school. I forgot they don't do school anymore. So my kids have been going to daycare that facilitates distance learning since COVID happened. So that's different. And then 2 or 3 days a week, I go into clinic, and it's a dermatology clinic. So I see people with only inflammatory skin diseases. So I see between 20 and 30 people with rashes. I love rashes. A lot of psoriasis, eczema, sometimes acne, rosacea, a lot of hives. So I fill my day up with people's skin, and it makes me very happy. And then I also do telemedicine, like general telemedicine. I help doing policies and procedures for a company in Texas, and I work for them as well, taking phone calls. And that's extremely flexible, which is nice. So I really like having the flexibility of working part-time in 2 different fields, 2 different companies, because then I'm able to just decide, if I want to take a break, if I want to take a vacation, if I need to take days off for school for my children, or doctor's appointments, whatever it happens to be. So I enjoy the flexibility of my jobs. And I went into allergy immunology as I loved putting puzzles together. That was my thing. And the immune system is full of puzzles. And so I'm able to still do that as much as I want to. And that a lot of people in my area send me complicated patients that maybe don't get better off the first or second drug. And those are my favorite. I love them. I love a challenge. I'll stop you from itching one way or another. And so I'm just happy that I chose this career path. And then when I got to the point to make extra decisions, I made the decisions I wanted. I didn't let anybody externally say, well, you know what, you should go into pulmonary asthma because you're an allergist. I actually turned some of that down, and I went into skin inflammatory diseases. And all these decisions could have been different had I listened to people who may or may not have been my mentors. But I started making decisions for what I wanted. And I think that has made a big impact on my flexibility of my jobs. And I'm just really happy with being a doctor, and just being able to be working in clinic and not be tied down to 9 to 5, 5 days a week. So that's my story.
That's your story, and you're sticking to it.
Sure am.
Gael, tell us your day in the life.
Oh, I live a typical resident life, as I'm sure you guys remember. So for me, I'm also a mother, and I'm currently pregnant, so it's a lot. But really, I wake up, depending on the day. Some days I have early starts like 7:15. Some days I have 8:30 starts. Some days I have 8 o'clock, but the latest is always 8:30. Usually I have a nanny comes in to my house and takes care of all the morning stuff and take the kids off to school for me. And I just go into work. Just because I leave so early, it's just really hard to, like take part of those little things that matter so much. So I usually go into work and I see my patients in the pre-op area. Usually the night before, I do a quick review of my patients, just because sometimes patients have certain comorbidities that will alter or require a certain discussion with the surgeon in how to proceed with this case. And basically, the morning I chat with my patients and tell them about the plan, and we go in the operating room. We just do cases after cases until the day's over. As a resident, as you guys will eventually know, when you go into medical school, there's something called, are you on call or are you not on call, which matters, okay? Because that determines how long your day goes for. So if I'm not on call, I get home about like 3:30, which is really good because I get to spend time with my kids and, do the whole mommy title, put my medical hat on the side and take on my mommy role. And if I'm on call, then I stay longer, take over cases up until either 9 o'clock or 10 p.m. If I'm on call, then it's a full 24-hour spiel where overnight you really take care of trauma cases. You don't really do elective cases in the middle of the night. It's usually like trauma or emergency cases that cannot wait for the next day. And I get home, not only do I take my doctor hat, my mommy hat on, but I also put my student hat back on because I'm also in residency. So you got to continue to build that knowledge. And I'm sure even for Kate, even if you're an attending, medicine is a lifelong learning. It doesn't stop. So you have to continue to build on that knowledge continuously. So, it's just less stress because you don't have to take exams like I do, but the studying never stops. So this is really what a day is like for me. And I honestly do value my time off in residency, really, or even as an attending, basically as an adult, really. Like your days are not the same anymore. You don't get the weekend like, oh, come Friday, oh, it's party time. Like, no, it doesn't happen anymore. It's like, okay, like, what do I need to do? I need to go grocery shopping, your priorities get shifted a little bit. So you do try to make time though to still do things that makes you you. So like for me, it's just spending time with my kids, my husband. I used to enjoy like reading. So I'll read a book if I have time. I watch Netflix, just do little things to remind myself of what life used to be before all these things started. So it is important to still find a little bit of time, no matter how long, dedicated to yourself every day of your life onwards.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and the important part of just kind of getting back to you. I love that you just sometimes zone out, read a book, watch Netflix, just do you. Very important. You got to have that balance. And congratulations to you also. Swathi, what's your day in the life?
Sure. Well, unlike Gael and Kate, I am not a mother yet, but hopefully one day. But so for me, so the weeks that I'm actually working, my shift actually starts at 7 a.m, and we're actually on call from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. And what I really like about being a hospitalist is that I come in, I get my list of patients, I round on them, I manage them, and then at 7 p.m., my responsibilities for that patient ends until the next morning when I pick them back up again. So, because we have a nocturnist that actually manages anything acute overnight, like Kate was doing for that year that she worked. So I really like that part. And also as a hospitalist, I like the variety of cases that I see every day, because as an internal medicine hospitalist, you're managing the patient from head to toe. You could see all sorts of pathology from all over the body. And so it keeps things really fresh and exciting throughout the day. But I also like the fact that I get to work pretty close with the patients and their families, their kind of social aspects and things like that to manage too. So that's all kind of what I do during my shift from 7. Once I'm done, if I'm done with my work, if it's as early as 1 o'clock, I'm actually done. I can come home if I want. I just have to be available to respond to any messages or anything until 7 p.m. And so once I'm done with that, I actually, since in residency, I didn't really do a whole lot. As Gael knows, we don't have a lot of time besides just residency and sleeping and studying and eating occasionally and all that. I think finally, With the attending life, I have a little bit more time to spend for myself. And one of the things that I really picked up is working out. As simple as that is, I actually take time to go to the gym after I come back from work every night. So that's been really nice to kind of like get in a good positive mood with things. And I'm cooking a lot more, which I really enjoyed and I missed that I didn't get a lot of chance to do in residency. So, you know, I spend a lot of time cooking when I come home too. So it's really, like I said, the little things that you can find throughout the day to kind of get you through that. But it's not so hard when you really love the job that you do. And that's what I feel, right? Like I know that, you know, from 7 to 7, it's a high stress situation, whatever, you're managing all these acute things, but I love it. Like I come home every day and I'm like, wow, I love my job and I love going back tomorrow morning. So, and it's funny because I think about the weeks that I'm off. So I do 7 days on, 7 days off. Those 7 days off, I'm just like, I'm not really sure what to do. And I sometimes text the group. I'm like, anybody have any open shifts you want me to pick up? Because I can come back to work. I love the people that I work with. So yeah, when you love the job that you're doing, all this time that you're spending like is no big deal. And you will find ways to find the little things that makes you happy all throughout the day.
Yeah, I so appreciate everything that each of you have shared in regards to your day in the life, because one thing that just really jumps out to me is how you have all managed throughout all of the chaos and how busy it is to still have that balance. And so I want people who are joining us and contemplating going down this road to know that you too will still be able to maintain your balance. Now, I'm not going to tell you that in school you will have that balance or you're going to work hard to get there, but eventually you will be able to have more flexibility in your schedule and be able to really just kind of customize your life and do the things that you want to do in addition to still saving lives and helping people. It's amazing. So I'd like to jump into some live Q&A. I have a few questions that have come through the Q&A box. So I'm going to jump right in. I have one that says, it's from Lucas. Lucas wants to know about some advice for undergraduate students. So Gael, just overall, what type of advice would you give Lucas as an undergrad preparing to go into medical school?
I would say, even though undergrad is not really like a mirror of what medicine is like, but you want to start building good habits. And what I mean by that is that, you know, like be consistent with your studying. Even if you don't do it all the time, try to do a little bit, because when you get into medical school, like the knowledge becomes exponential. I mean, I'm going to come straight forward about this. In college, I was a crammer, okay? Like exams on Friday, I start studying on Monday. But again, I was also the same person who knows that, you know, come medical school, I can't do that. So it was a bit of a shock. I'm like, oh my God, like I have to study every day now. This is insane, you know? So I would say like build that habit like early on, being consistent, do a little bit every day. This is what's going to get you through medicine. And I would say another advice is really like, yes, study, but also like really enjoy yourself a little. I think it's very important because as you progress your career, you do have, so at least up until residency, your life really doesn't become your own in a way, up until attending life, as Swathi mentioned. So I would say really like do things that you love throughout college, but while staying consistent and remembering that you're not here for fun only, but you also need to prepare your foundation for medical school. So just keeping those two things in check is very important, because a lot of time I'll go back on my phone and look at my college memories. I'm like, oh, I had a good time, you know, but I also did well enough to be able to get into medical school and get to the career that I wanted to get into. So have fun, but not too much to the point where it takes you away from your goal. That's my only advice, really.
Thank you. And so we have another question that came in from Susan. Now, Susan looks like is a career changer. So Susan was a professor of chemistry and physics for 20 years. And Susan's original background in undergrad, intern, and volunteerism was geared towards pre-med. Now, Kate, since you've been in the medical field longer, What type of advice would you give to someone like Susan, who is a career changer, and Susan's been accepted to SGU? So what advice would you give Susan, who's looking to start her educational career with us?
So having not studied like the undergrad study, you haven't studied like that for a while, is just to make sure when you go that you try to keep up. So don't get behind, because it's a different studying for med school, especially if you haven't studied for a while in that capacity. So I don't know if maybe she took some review classes or some chemistry classes or something in order to get her application where she's been in school recently, or if she took like a Mcat instruction course, something like that. But for the career change people, I noticed that sometimes they had a hard time cramming. It's just a lot of information to put. So my advice to her would be to make sure to review your notes every night for that day and then the week. So if you get a lecture on Monday, you review Monday night's notes before you go to bed, and Tuesday you review Monday and Tuesday, and to go down that path, because I was able to do that in med school, usually by the beach. I was like the only one out there because I hated libraries. And I know it's virtual right now, but just to review it on a daily basis and keep up with it weekly so that you don't have to cram and so that you're prepared. And I was a TA in anatomy, and I think that building upon each lesson is extremely important in medicine, and that it's not something you can just learn in a week or two before your exam. I saw some career change people in my class, and they had been out for 20 years in a different career. And engineering was one that I can remember a few people went in. They did fine, they matched, but they did have some struggles with the studying. So don't fall behind.
And one of the things that you can do, Susan, and keep this in mind for Susan and anyone else who's joining SGU, is to take advantage of Department of Educational Services, or DES. It's a voluntary tutoring program. Basically, you can go in, you can get assistance with various classes. They'll help you identify how you absorb and learn. They'll help you put together study plans and connect you with various study groups. So there's a lot of assistance available for you. So be sure to take advantage of DES. And yeah, that definitely is amazing. It's voluntary, but about 85% of our students do utilize the service at some point.
I do remember that. That was extremely helpful. I was a TA for that in a couple of different courses. And to start on that early is a great thing for all the people that are going to SGU soon. I don't know how you guys are doing that virtually, but I know in person it was fantastic to go to those classes, because they had a lot of students had taken the test previously. So they knew how to study and how to get you guys ready for the exams. And of course, I didn't use the same questions. That would be bizarre, but they were able to get you prepared. I do think that's a great opportunity. Is that DS still going virtually?
Yeah, actually it is. So they're still reaching out to students, helping them, putting them with study groups, and it's just all being done virtually right now. And so that's one of the things that I was really happy to hear, that they didn't miss a beat with that. Actually, they amped it up, because now, since everyone's online, a lot of people need, some people may need more support. So they just really amped up the services that they provide to the students. And everyone who joined us, Gael had to jump off. She actually was on call, so she had to jump off. She is doing what she does. She's a doctor. So that'll be you. You'll be helping out, and then you'll be like, hey, gotta go. But I will have an opportunity for you to connect with her. So stay on, because I'm going to have a link provided where you'll be able to schedule appointments, not only with Gael, but with Swathi and Kate, so that you can have some one-on-one time and get some of your additional questions answered. Now, Venkata has a question about advice for incoming SGU students. So we're going to answer that. And actually, before I do that, because I want them to give not only advice for just incoming SGU students, but overall people who are looking to go into medicine. So I'm going to circle back to you, Venkata, for that. And Amari, let's see. Amari says, I am really interested in how 3rd and 4th clinical rotations work. With so many options to choose from, how did you narrow down where you would complete each rotation? I've heard a lot of SGU students choosing Jersey or Florida. And Swathi, you wanted to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And Amari's, the way that it works is that your last year of basic sciences, so your second year, the clinicals department actually sends out, at least that's how this was for me. They send out a survey, which basically you fill out as far as the regions that you're interested in practicing in or doing your rotations in, and they kind of base it off of like the major chunk regions and things like that. And then once you fill that survey out, they'll, for the third year, the SGU, like the clinicals department, actually plans out your whole year. So there's 5 core rotations that you have to complete, and that's all completed within your third year. And the 5 rotations are internal medicine, pediatrics, surgery, OB-GYN, and psych. So all those 5 core rotations will be planned out for you by the clinicals department. Once you're done with your third year, now fourth year is actually more electives, and there's some requirements that you need, like a sub-internship in internal medicine and things like that, and they'll go through those details. But mostly the fourth year is really left for you to do what you want to really practice in and things like that. So people like Gael, for example, who really wanted to do anesthesia, and she mastered anesthesia, that's the time that they do all of those subspecialty rotations and things like that. Now, do you get exposure to anesthesia and everything during your core rotations? Absolutely. During your surgical rotation, you do have some time with anesthesiology and things, and most of the subspecialties. And then, so that's kind of how they tailor it. So the third year is already planned out for you, based on of your regional preferences from surveys and stuff that you complete. And then for the fourth year, it's really, ideally, you want to do these electives in hospitals that you're interested in matching in, because again, people like to see your face. They like to see, how you are, how they would fit, how you would fit in with their program and how you would like their program too. So I think it's a great opportunity for you to essentially kind of like test out programs that you want to ultimately match in. Like for example, for me, like my first choice was the program that I pre-matched into. So I did a lot of my rotations there, got to know the attendings and things a lot better there too. So that's kind of how it all works out. Hope that answers your question.
I didn't even have the question and answered mine. So Amari, hope you answered it. I hope she answered it. And if not, then you'll be able to connect with Swathi and get more information about that. Now, so let's go back to Venkata's question about advice for incoming SGU students, but also what type of advice would you give people overall who are looking to go into medical or even just considering it? Kate?
So if you're considering going into oh, it looks like an echo. You guys can hear me? Right. Okay, so if you're considering going to medicine, pre-med's is essential. You have to take your basic classes, but you can also do things like psychology. Psychology is excellent to go into medicine. So you can take your science prereqs, but don't forget about other things of interest. Business is really important. It's to have a business mind in medicine as well. So some economic classes. Some people with MBAs are very helpful when they become doctors. So you don't always have to focus. You got to get the prerequisites in science, but you can also think about things like psychology and business to add to be very diverse. Sometimes even engineers can go into medicine. That's a good field too. You just have to have your prerequisites for your particular college or university that you're looking to go to medical school at. But otherwise, those other classes, you should explore things that may help you be like fulfilled, better equipped to handle when you do become a doctor. I had a minor in psychology, and I think that was really helpful. And my husband has an MBA. So I think, and he ended up becoming a chief medical officer in a big company. So I think other things are also very, very helpful when thinking about what to take. And you have to do well in your MCAT, or at least try to. I tried. So I took the review courses like you're supposed to for MCATs. It didn't work out so well for me. But my husband was actually an MCAT instructor. So everyone has their different story of how they ended up at St. George's. Mine, I didn't do so great on my MCAT. He was an instructor and he still ended up at St. George's. We're very proud to be St. George's graduates. So we're very happy that our paths crossed there. But yeah, I would just say to get your prereqs out of the way, but other science classes, maybe pick some psychology classes or business classes instead.
Thank you, Kate. Swathi, what about you? What type of advice would you provide?
So these are students that are already accepted to SGU and they're coming to our school. So for
Going
that,
to SGU, yeah. Or people also considering medicine.
right. I mean, medicine is definitely challenging. I think we should, go in with that mindset that it is a challenging field, but it is such a fulfilling field if you are able to get through all the training and things like that. And you will if you have the mindset for it. And as far as, for people that are coming into medical school and things like that, is really, especially SGU, I think it's just to keep your mind open and really just savor the experience, not just from getting all this knowledge that you're going to get going through school, but also the people that you're going to meet, the professors that you're going to meet. These are, again, people from all over the world. So the type of experiences that you're going to gain from there is going to be unlike any other. And so just be open-minded to all of that. And don't forget, like at the end of the day, it's all about a balance, right? You have to be a good student, a hard worker, but don't forget to have a little fun with everything too. And being on an island surrounded by beautiful water and things like that, it's sunny and it's so easy to do that, even just by walking outside, on campus. That just itself just kind of regenerates, just refreshes you to get back into it in a little bit later. So even if it's those little walks, just enjoy those moments because it's totally worth it. And I definitely miss going. I miss Grenada. I wish I was back there so many times, especially being mostly in the colder weathers these days. But it's, like I said, it's an absolutely fun experience to just take the time to enjoy every moment of it.
Yes, and when you're on the island, it's so easy to enjoy it, being in that nice tropical weather and just taking a break, looking at the water. It just seems to make everything okay. Now, I don't have any additional questions coming through, but I'm going to keep that Q&A box open. And also for everyone joining us on Facebook, Samantha is still live and able to answer your questions as well. And I know following this event, John does have an event coming up this evening. So John, if you want to put some information in the chat for everyone about how they can join your upcoming event, please go ahead and do so. Now, I am so excited about everything that both of you shared, and also with Gael. I was really looking forward to this since last week. I was like, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait every day. I'm like, is it time? Is it time? And I just want to thank you, Swathi, Kate, and also thank you, Gael, out there. I know you had to leave, but thank you so much for taking time and joining us this evening and really sharing all of this valuable information with everyone. And so for everyone who is still with us, we will have an opportunity for you to connect with our doctors and get some one-on-one time. Kate has a visitor. Hi.
This is why we do it.
That's exactly why you do it. Hi, thanks for joining us. So we will have a QR code that'll be put up shortly for you to be able to schedule some one-on-one time with our doctors and just get more information. Also, I will have Nicole go ahead and submit a link for you to be able to join our upcoming sessions. If there's anyone who is looking to obtain residency or do clinical rotations in California, I will be hosting an event next Tuesday, March 9th, called California Dreaming, the Road to Clinical Rotations and Residency. So please join me. We're going to have some amazing doctors available to talk with the opportunities in California, and it's going to be fun. So I'd like to thank you, Kate. Thank you, Swathi. Thanks everyone on the admissions team who has been helping and answering questions. And also a special thank you to everyone joining this evening. I know you had other things you could have been doing, but you decided to spend a little bit of time with us. I truly appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you all at some point, and please remember to continue to be kind to yourselves and others. So with that said, Chanel, I'm going to turn it back over to you so that you can provide everyone with the QR code so they can schedule some appointments with Swathi and Kate. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Thank you so much to our wonderful alumni that took the time to join us this evening and talk more about their experience in medicine. We gained a lot of insight tonight. I know I definitely did. And what a great way to start off the first week of Women's History Month. So thank you all again. As Wendy mentioned, we have a very special opportunity for you to connect with our graduates one-on-one. I saw some really great questions come in the chat box. So if you would like to chat with our graduates one-on-one, feel free to pull out your phone, open up your camera app and scan this QR code. Now, this QR code is going to take you to an appointment box where you have an opportunity to, again, make an appointment with one of our graduates. Again, I want to thank everyone that is on our social media platforms for joining us this evening from Facebook and from YouTube. Thank you. And as Wendy mentioned, we have some wonderful upcoming information sessions and also doctors on call presentations for you, just like this. So this one was our Women's in Medicine. The next one that we actually are offering is our surgery. So SGU surgeons. That event's actually going to be on March 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So we would love to see you then. And as I'm speaking, I see the appointments are going fairly quickly. So thank you guys so much for scanning it and making your appointments with these doctors. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this evening. Without further ado, I want to say thank you again for joining us. As we conclude this meeting, we look forward to seeing you again in person as we get on the road here in the upcoming months to do information sessions in person. But if not, we hope to see you again on an upcoming virtual information session. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great evening all. Thank you. Bye.